The Hebrew Bible contains a few passages where Yahweh battles a creature called Leviathan. While they may not strictly be about creation, scholars show that there is a plausible connection between these passages and Chaoskampf myths from earlier cultures. In the Enuma Elish, Tiamat is a single-headed sea serpent or dragon. She is defeated by Marduk, who splits her in two and uses her to create the heavens and the earth. The Babylonians borrowed heavily from Sumerian religion and mythology. Many Babylonian gods were originally Sumerian deities, sometimes retaining their names or sometimes acquiring new ones. This process is known as syncretism, where Sumerian gods and myths were adapted, merged, or reinterpreted by the Akkadians and later Babylonians. If we go back before the Enuma Elish to the Sumerian texts, we find a deity called Ninurta. There is a story in those texts of Ninurta defeating a monster called Anzu, or the Anzu bird. It is thought that this story was probably the source for the story of Tiamat and Marduk. Ninurta defeats other monsters too. Among the monsters defeated by Ninurta is explicitly a seven-headed serpent, also called the seven-headed snake or Mushmaku. Sumerian and Akkadian texts, as well as iconography, confirm this detail. While the exact number of monsters can vary depending on the version and tradition, 11 is a commonly cited total in scholarly summaries and mythological retellings. Scholarly interpretation proposes that this has a link to the 11 monsters later created by Tiamat in the Babylonian Enuma Elish. A Mushmaku appears as one of Tiamat's offspring. While the detail of the seven heads is not given in the Enuma Elish, it's plausible that Tiamat's Mushmaku was imagined in a similar way, even if the detail is not explicit here. In the Enuma Elish, the offspring are collectively defeated by Marduk when he kills her. Serpents and dragons with multiple heads appear in all kinds of ancient myths. One famous example, the Hydra in Greek mythology. But for readers of the Bible, perhaps the most relevant is Lotan, also known as Litan or Litanu. This serpent definitely has 7 heads, and it is battled and defeated by the storm god Baal. In 1928, archaeologists made a major discovery at Ras Shamra, an ancient city of Ugarit in northern Syria. There, they uncovered Canaanite texts that preserve the myths and religious beliefs of the Late Bronze Age. They describe a pantheon of gods, El, Baal, Anat, Yam, Mot, and Lotan, and more, some of whom have parallels in the Hebrew Bible. In those texts, we find myths which parallel the Sumerian and Babylonian myths. The ones we are interested in are Baal versus Yam and Baal versus Lotan. Yam is the sea, just like Tiamat in the Enuma Elish. Lotan is a 7-headed serpent, just like Mushmaku in the Sumerian texts, and possibly reflected in Tiamat's offspring. Marduk and Baal are both storm gods. So whether these stories were directly borrowed or simply part of the shared cultural fabric of the ancient Near East, it's clear that the Canaanites had their own versions. This raises a crucial question for readers of the Hebrew Bible. Is Leviathan another version of this ancient mythic serpent? In the Ugaritic Baal cycle, Lotan, or Litenu, is described as Lotan the fleeing serpent, Lotan the twisting serpent, the mighty one with 7 heads. Ugaritic was a Northwest Semitic language like Hebrew, so linguistic transmission is natural. The Ugaritic Lotan is made up of 3 consonants, L, T, N. In Hebrew, the equivalent root consonants produce the form Leviathan. This transformation follows regular Semitic morphology. The an or an suffix is common in Semitic theonyms and mythological names. The v in Leviathan likely reflects a phonetic adaptation or vowel insertion for euphony. Isaiah chapter 27, verse 1. In that day, Jehovah, with his harsh and great and strong sword, will turn his attention to Leviathan, the gliding serpent, to Leviathan, the twisting serpent, and he will kill the monster that is in the sea. Psalm 74, verse 14, you crushed the heads of Leviathan. You gave it as food to the people, to those inhabiting the deserts. These descriptions clearly echo the Baal cycle, especially the twisting serpent motif, and Leviathan having multiple heads instead of a single head. Also, in Job chapter 41, we read, can you catch Leviathan with a fishhook or hold down its tongue with a rope? Will you fill its hide with harpoons or its head with fishing spears? And later, its snorting flashes out light, and its eyes are like the rays of dawn. Flashes of lightning go out of its mouth. Fiery sparks escape. Smoke pours out of its nostrils, like a furnace fueled with rushes. Its breath sets coals ablaze, and a flame shoots from its mouth. So we see a connection with water through the use of fishing spears and fish hooks, and also we see that this creature had features of a dragon. There's no mistaking it. The Chaoskampf myth is woven into the text of the Hebrew Bible. But there is one notable difference. Psalm 104, verse 26, assumes that God created Leviathan, something that stands in contrast to the other passages where God battles and defeats it. Of course, Jehovah's Witnesses believe the Bible is inspired by God and historically accurate. Acknowledging that Genesis or Psalms echo motifs from older myths like the Baal cycle, or that Yahweh's victory over the sea reflects an older Chaoskampf tradition, would undermine their claim that the Bible is entirely original, free of myth, and fundamentally different from surrounding religions. In the next video, we'll explore how they respond to all of this. Be sure to check out the additional resources linked in the description.